Good morning and welcome to Coffee Talk. It is Sunday morning. I have my dark roast in my Panmunjom Peace Village cup when I stared the North Koreans down and bought a tourist cup. Only the West can do that. Only the West. Weird place. I recommend you go see it. Hopefully it's not really a thing in the near future. We'll see. All right. Standard stuff. We're going to talk about the missions and specials. Couple weird things in there, and I'll talk about that. The maps are going to get a tweak. The current public test, or common test, I guess they call it, has some changes to maps, and it's interesting the ones they picked. I bet you can probably guess a few of them. We'll talk about those a bit. I got multiple other items, some little things here and there we'll talk about that I found along the way. The latest drama is the EULA for NA, the End Users Legal Agreement. Talk about that just a little bit. There's not much new there, but there were a couple verbiage changes which are interesting, and I think probably play into what's going to happen in the near future with the preferential tanks, and potentially as a reaction to blogs and other things that are going on. So that's an interesting one. There's a lot of drama there. I'll just try to let you know what's going on and give you my 2 cents. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is the current game state and what I think about it, because I think there's a serious meta trend. I've talked about it a little bit along the way, and I'm ready to go ahead and take my stance, and we'll talk about what that current meta trend is and why it's kicking my butt. So really, it's sour grapes. So that's why we do this, right? All right, let's get started. Grab your coffee, have a drink, or tea for my tea friends, probably already players. As usual, we will start with the events and the missions, which really there's not a whole lot going on. Although over on the missions, there's decent mission as far as a double crew experience weekend. The half track for the BDR is still going on. You remember that for the Warhammer thing, or in support of the Warhammer skin that you can buy. The IS-7 is on track, which is a great line. So if you have any desire to get the IS-7, now is the time to grind. Tank Masteries, got 2 of those going on, nothing really there. And then we've got Supply Raid, which is every 24 hours. You can get some kits, large ones, for the 10 vehicles destroyed, and you can get some small ones for these other things, as well as the Double Crew XP. Top 10, and I did not see any win requirements on any of these. So thank you, Wargaming. Well done on that. Those are neat little things. That's a decent weekend mission thing for a weekend that doesn't have a lot of missions on it. And the standard hunt the sheriff and train your crew. For the 2R, if you bought that bad boy, you're silly if you did. Hopefully you enjoy it. Actually, if anyone bought that thing, and I'm talking about the KV2 Ragnarok Warhammer edition, how are the credit earnings on that? It seems like at tier 6, with only shooting HE, as cheap as those shells are, that thing, and plus getting a bonus as it's a premium, I feel like that thing must be hands and feet, head and shoulders, and hands and feet, everything above any other tier 6 for credit. Let me know if you have that thing. I feel like that would be pretty dang good. And here we are in the premium shop. Let's get our shill on. Now here's something I didn't really notice in the past, which kind of makes me laugh. Never really paid attention to the percentage discount that they offered, but it basically is tied into the amount. So the more the bundle or the item costs, the larger the percentage of discount. So sometimes it's a minus 15% for all tier X vehicles. But with these special package deals, this one, for instance, is $60, so it's minus 20. This one's 38, so it's minus 12. I saw that it was weird percentages. So at a $60.99 package, it's minus 20. At a $63.99 package, it's minus 19. I don't get it. Speaking of these packages, these are really silly. Look at this. It's a T1E6 war chest. $60. Now, you're not buying this thing necessarily, which is interesting because it goes back to me and my not getting gold for a premium time that had a tank as an addition. This has a tank that has premium time as an addition. I suspect you get the gold value for the tank because it's the main item that you're spending $60 for. You know, that's logical, right? Does that make anyway? Wah for me. Let me just dredge that stuff up from 2 weeks ago. Clearly, I'm still, I won't say that word, irritated. But what's weird is gold 5,000, which is not much, especially for $50. So really, you're paying a good chunk of that money for this 5 million credits, which is something you get by playing the game. Because I think that's why we're here, is to play the game, and I can get 5 million credits. Now, I've talked about this a bit in the past, and if you have the disposable income or you just want to, who are we to say, who am I to say, go for it? I mean, that's fine, but it's bizarre to me for several issues. Number one is you can get it playing the game, which is why I think you loaded the game, so I don't quite get that too much. I do understand that you want to sometimes accelerate, and maybe you just really want to get that cool tank and you want to play it, but this brings me to my second point. This is aimed at those new players who are really still trying to rush forward. And I think what the point here is that it's not a rush forward game. You can truly enjoy the game at lower tiers, and in fact you should, because eventually you're going to be coming to people like me and other better players that have YouTube sites, and you're going to be wondering, how come I get my rear kicked with my cool tier 8 I bought with my 5 million credits? Well, because you didn't learn the game and you fell for this $60 package. Man, I got nothing against Wargaming selling everything they can sell, but it's the cheesy, smarmy kind of stuff like this that drives me crazy. So let's go back here. Wow. The M4190 is on sale. That does not have the GF paint job, so it actually looks pretty cool with the other camo patterns on it. You can trade it in as well. I won't get into that. That's easy enough to look up. I left all my GF stuff because I figured I'd buck the trend and have the weird GF paint scheme on mine, and people, 2 years down the road go, what the heck is that? And, it's possible I'm overthinking that one. I don't know. All right, let's go over to the vehicles, because what's crazy here is, again, as I have noted several weeks now, is how many different vehicles are on sale. They got these crazy T14 packages. By the way, the T14 is a much better tank than the T1E6, although I believe the T14 has pref matchmaking, so warning right there if it changes. Whether they're going to go down to the lower tiers for pref, I don't know. That wasn't really mentioned in all the preferential hubbub last week. They talked about tier 8 being the problem for 357 with the tier 8 premium or preferential premiums. No mention or discussion about all the various lower preferential premiums. That's going to be interesting as well. The assumption, what happens when you assume, is that they'll eventually all get done, but I don't know. Here's one. Watch this. This T34 is $52 and you get a couple of extra goodies with it. But if you were just kind of trolling through and decided you wanted a T34, you might be forgiven to come down here and go, well, the T44 is a regular tank. I'm just going to grab it down here. Ooh, don't do that. That one's 52, and you can get this one up here for, where'd he go? I lost him. Where'd it go? Uh-oh, this is terrible. Someone help me. Tell me where it is. There it is. All right, for basically the same price and more goodies. Watch for stuff like that, because there is a lot of stuff like that. And if you click on it, it's not going to tell you. Say you clicked on the one down here. There's nothing that I'm aware of. Let's find out. That says, hey, dummy, you can get a better deal over here by 10 cents. Actually, this one's 10 cents less. No, so there's nothing in there that says for 10 cents more you can get a bunch of extra stuff. So watch out for that. Nothing else really big other than those weird giant packages. A couple other tanks on sale. The Rudy is still out there. No idea why you would buy the Rudy when you can have a T-34-85M, other than it has the dog. The Thunderbolt's still out. There's that the 40K Warhammer, blah, blah, blah. There you have it with that. Let's move on. We are moving to, where are we going next? We're going to head over to maps. The maps discussion. This is interesting. Hey, before we get to maps, I just wanted to note a little thing that I also found here, which something that's been driving me a little bit crazy, and I've touched on it in the past. So this Tier 7 8 of the week, they're doing a new feature kind of thing. It's the first time I've noticed it. Maybe this is the first week, second week. Hell, it could be the 10th week for all I know, but I just noticed it. And they're featuring a premium tank, a Tier 7 or 8, and here it is, the T-34. It's a little thing. This is a little thing, but it's just one of those little things that drives me crazy. It says, welcome to Tier 7 8 of the week. Wait, what is this? Like I'm talking to a 12-year-old, right? Or one of my teenagers. That kind of stuff doesn't really need to be in or on your website, because it's silly. It really is. It's not endearing. It's silly. Which made me read it a little bit further, and I start looking at this. All right, Tier of the week, yep. War Economics 101. All right, that makes sense. Crazy Ivan's credits and premium time. Oh, okay, that's fine. Need for greed. All right, are they being ironic there? Oh man, you have a game where you are trying to not be associated with pay to win, or even greed as far as your company goes, and you allow your marketing guys to call something need for greed. The time the Avenger bundle. Time the event. I don't even really know what that means. Time the Avenger bundle. Well, there's time. I guess that's it. I play another game I've talked about a bit in the past called Mini Warriors, and it's done in Asia. And sometimes some of the translations are hilarious on this thing. This sounds like a mistranslation of some kind to the English. Time the Avenger. And Tanker's Delight, that's fine. So anyway, if you go through all their titles for things, you'll find stuff like that all the time. Little thing, yeah. Am I off the rails? Maybe. But hey, it's my video. Let's move on. So map design improvements. This is coming from TAP, the Armored Patrol. Shout out to them. Good site. Recommend going to click on it as much as possible. I don't get anything for that. They're just one of the better sites. All right, what maps are changing? Malinovka, please, Wargaming. Get your grubby mitts off of Malinovka. There's nothing wrong. Listen to me. Look at me in the eyes, fellas. There's nothing wrong with Malinovka. Don't mess with it. Too late. They're going to. I don't know why. Come on. But the more interesting ones are, yes, fjords. You screwed fjords up. It's terrible. It's going to play into my discussion at the end of what's happening to this game. But assassin line, can't push up here, can't push down here, brawling corner as it ever was, camping TDs. The changes have things that say, added an indestructible house to the tank destroyer position, which allows you to hide from enemy fire. Fantastic. Thanks, guys. Yes, that's what it needed. Erlenberg, trash. You destroyed it. You know what you should do with the Erlenberg? Revert all the changes back to the old map and HD the old map and call it good. And then you can start tweaking the small things on the old map. This thing, this thing is a joke. It is a complete joke. Killing zone, killing zone, killing zone, killing zone. Camp, brawl. That's the whole map. I just described your entire map. There's nothing else to do. It's dumb. But they're going to tweak a bunch of stuff on this. All right. Good luck. I hope you do. I hope you fix it. That's all I'm going to say. Mountain Pass. The Valley of the Alleys. Nothing but alleys. Alley. Come down here, you get trapped in the bottom. This is actually the most fun to fight down in the bottom right here, trying to shoot guys on the side. This is just a disaster. Hard to push. This is a big bowl of doom. Sometimes it's fun to come across and snipe guys here, but if they get serious about digging you out, you're gone. Nothing you can do. What are you going to say about this has been a disaster since day one, to be quite honest. Good luck. I hope you fix it. The problem is the big alley valley action and no ability to flatten any of this stuff or make any cross moves other than in the very middle of the map or camp in the back so you can cross back and forth. That's the problem with that map. All right, super test changes. Mines is getting a tweak. I read some of the verbiage in here. I'm not really sure what they're getting at. They seem to think making this position more viable from the north spawn is the key to life. I don't know. I don't know, man. The problem, especially on one of the major problems, especially on encounter, is that one side has an easier time getting up the hill than the other. I'll leave it you to guess that one. Not listed here, or not shown as a map, but listed here as Glacier. Remember, these are super tests, so these are a little further out than the ones I just talked about. Glacier is also getting some changes. I got a change for Glacier. Remove it. Every time I get that map, I hear fingernails scraping on a chalkboard, and I want to take this. I don't know, this is fairly blunt. I want to take this and poke myself in the eye. Just kidding. I don't want to do that. But I don't want to play the map. All right, let's move on. In other news, we are buffing a Soviet tank and bringing in a new overpowered heavy Soviet tank. Yay! This is changes for the common test. The 430 version 2 is getting a pretty heavy buff. I hadn't been really tracking this. The gun changed, but all the dispersion and stats and everything for the gun have decreased or got better, basically. Have improved, let's put it that way. Not decreased badly, but some of the things where it decreasing is better, i.e. it's more accurate or less inaccurate, if you want to put it that way. Here's a good one. The aiming time, 2.9 to 2 seconds. What? What? Wow. Wow. 219 to 246 pen. 219 to 246. Reload from 8 to 7.5. Wow. Oh darn, you lost some hit points. Wow. The K91. The K91. Apparently that one only had a 90-degree off center for the turret. That's very hard to use in this game. It really is. So guess what they did? They improved it to 110. 90 is probably the historic value. So they're like, that's too hard to use because it's a Soviet tank. So let's give it another 10 degrees. Interesting that they didn't do that for the version 2. I think that's the follow-on to the version 2, so it's the same idea. The version 2's turret doesn't go all the way around. It only goes 90 degrees off. But for the tier 10, we can't have that, so we're going to give it a little extra so it can look backwards just a little bit. And, you know, with it being a rear turreted, if this is the rear turreted, let's say it's not the rear turreted. Let's just say it's a regular Soviet tank with the standard depression issues. Well, that's not good. You can't have that. -5? Let's go to -9. What? I mean, you have to assume that -5 is close to the historical values. Where did they get the extra degrees? Does it magically go through the hole? Unbelievable, man. All right, next thing for random news is this bad boy, the 276 with the 4 tracks. Check it out. That's actually pretty cool. Now think about that for a minute. Huh. Where's the weak spot on this guy? Well, no, it's not here. There's tracks. Now, it may be weak back there. There's probably not hole there, though, right? Because the tracks are going to be... That's all track stuff. There's can't really be anything back there to damage, I would imagine. Unless they're just going to build a hit point box back there for something. Or a hit box. Plus, heat's not ever going to go through that kind of thing. Or really, HE is going to splash off it. Not splash off it, be detonated by it. This upper plate's like 200 millimeters. Well angled. I'm not sure about this guy. You come down here to the stats. Pretty crazy. 200 hull armor, 350 turret. Look at the gun. 2-second aiming time, 0.35 dispersion. It's only got -5, so that's pretty Soviet. But wait till it gets into the final test and they'll make it -9 because you can't have -5. 9.6 on the reloading time? Holy cow. 440 alpha? Wow. Now those are early numbers. I usually don't get too crazy about those, but I wanted to note that one because it seemed a little bit wacky. Look at these crazy angles here on the side too. Good luck with those. Nice rounded turret. So yeah, it's the ultimate tank. All right, where are we going next? Somebody help me. What did I say? That was other news. Ah, the EULA. Yes, let's talk about the EULA. The EULA for NA, Wargaming NA, is going to change. About 12 days, 11 days or so until it comes into effect. Couple key things right here. Most of this is just boilerplate stuff that's already existed. And the idea of whatever's been changed has kind of already existed anyway. The timing is interesting because we're about to get a big preferential premium change. So one of the things right here, this is a slight change. You further acknowledge and agree that you have no claim, right, title, ownership, or other proprietary interest in the additional features as defined below that you unlock or accumulate, which is buying tanks and other things, regardless of any consideration offered or paid in exchange for such additional features. Additional features being anything you do other than the base game, which is free, right? So they have to protect their intellectual property. The base game is free, so they have offered that out to people. There are limitations on what you can do with it as far as copying it and stealing it and all that stuff you can't do. So no, that's pretty standard protection stuff. But the additional features are all the stuff you buy, which you do not own, which we've kind of known that, and there's precedent for that kind of thing. It's, I think, still a little bit nebulous, and a lot of it hasn't really been challenged too much. There have been some court cases, and I won't get into all of it because it's really quite complicated. What further complicates it is Wargaming is a international company, and they're dealing in a lot of different regions, and they have to have the EULA for each region. And they try to make a wide enough net to boilerplate most things, and then God knows what happens if somebody goes after them on it. But this does appear to be in preparation for the premium thing. It could be just a standard update too. From time to time they update EULAs. That just happens. You re-sign it. Most of the time when they bring on a new patch, you end up re-signing it when you log in. So I won't say it's no big deal. I don't think it's the drama really that a lot of people are thinking. There are some other interesting things though, and this is another place where the fan sites like TAP and others are digging in or looking at. The fan site will not post material that is disparaging. Well, that's kind of an open term, really, isn't it? And that looks to be, to a lot of people, to be censorship. Okay, got it. It's a private company. Censorship doesn't really apply. That's a government thing. I understand what everyone's going to come back to me with on that. But that's what it feels like, right? Oh, you can't say anything bad about the company or they'll delete your account, which is essentially the threat in here. If it gets to slander/libel, one of them's verbal, one of them's written, right? Slander is, anyway, I'll look it up. I can't remember off the top of my head. But when it comes to that kind of thing, then they have legal recourse. If it's just, hey, I don't like what they're doing here, it's cheesy, well, that is disparaging. So all of a sudden, are we going to lose our account because somebody randomly believes that what you said was disparaging? What I'm saying now is disparaging of the company. And what I've said in the past in several of my videos is probably disparaging under a lot of people's definition of disparaging. When I consider all of that, and then I consider the moderation of the forum, and I have to assume a lot of the same people, if not people, at least the same ideas and procedures probably exist for all of this. I have to wonder if we're going to get people who are irritated that day or who don't interpret it the same way, just banning people's accounts for things like this. So the question then is this in preparation for a wave of bans based on disparaging fan sites? Or is this just boilerplate additions to a EULA that needed to be updated because their legal eagles said it needed to be done? Occam's Razor says it's just standard procedure and that needed updating. Conspiracy says maybe they're getting ready for something. Guido says, I don't know. I sort of doubt they're going to go on some rampage. But they have been dealing with, and timing here is important. That's why I'm even discussing it, to be quite honest. And it's probably why a lot of other people are discussing it, because the timing's interesting, right? We know that this premium tank thing's going to happen. We know that there are considerable numbers of considerable number of people who are irritated, to include a lot of, in the past, pretty happy content creators who have done a lot for the company, been pretty positive about the product, been out there on the internet promoting it, playing it, enjoying it, who have taken a negative tone to a large extent. Maybe not even to a large extent, but relatively to what they've done in the past to a large extent. So you have to wonder, is this a reaction to something, a preparation for something, or is it just par for the course and they just had to do it because you update EULAs as you go? Don't know. I personally don't know. I'm going to be honest, though. I lean towards hedging bets. So maybe not a conspiracy, but a, hey, let's tighten this up, because if we have to go offensive, we're gonna have the stuff to do it. Really, quite honestly, and that's how I would operate myself. That's what it seems like to me, to be quite honest. Is it going to change anything I do? Not necessarily. If I woke up tomorrow and my account was banned, it would be irritating, but I wouldn't lose my mind. Frankly, I'd have some more time on Sunday morning. I'd go play Battletech or something, you know? So, yeah, it's been interesting on that. A lot of drama. You can read through all that stuff on what's going on. I don't think it's going to change anything I'm doing. I don't think it's going to change anything anybody else is doing, because the fact that the wording exists is quite a different thing from them actually using it. And then the final point that I have is, holy cow, that's the NA EULA for North America. How many countries are in North America? And no, they don't all operate with the same US laws. Plus there's international law on top of it. This is a tangled web for these guys. And they're doing their best to protect their intellectual property, and that's absolutely within their rights, and they should absolutely do that. How they would exactly go about logistically and realistically doing some of these things against people, I don't know. Except that it's not like you're going to go to court and have your account banned. They are simply going to ban it, and you're done. And your only recourse is then to do some kind of legal thing, which would be probably cost prohibitive. You'd probably lose, and it'd be sort of ridiculous, to be quite honest. So we'll see. The amount of goodwill they would lose if they started banning accounts simply because they said something mean to wargaming. Talk about a shite storm at that point. So I really, to a large extent, I feel like it's a hedging bets thing, and maybe it's like everyone's at the OK Corral with their hand hovering on the holster waiting for the first guy to make a move. And if somebody does, it's just going to get really stupid really fast after that. All right, let's move on. For the last segment, I want to talk a little bit about where this game has gone in the last probably 6 months or so. And really accelerated by 1.0. And I think it's the big story that nobody's talking about. And it has a lot of elements, a lot of reasons for why we are here. And I'll tell you that one of the reasons I have seen it so much is I've been grinding these Italian medium tanks. I've been playing nothing pretty much but medium tanks for the last at least a month or so. And it was really illustrated to me what has happened to the game's meta. And I think it has a lot of mothers, this situation. There's a lot of mothers and fathers, a lot of reasons why it has happened. So let's go over a couple. First, I'm going to lay out what I believe to be the current meta, and it's a problem, and it is camping. And you might go, oh, Guido, whatever. It's always been a campy game. That's true. It has always been a relatively campy game. But there's a lot of things that have come together in the recent past that have made it a mega super campy game. So, number one, the map changes. first they pulled out a bunch of the city maps, which were brawling maps. And you could camp on those, but you didn't really need to. You could still kind of move forward and hide behind buildings. So that's still a camping meta, but you could E&E your way through buildings. There weren't very many / no assassin lines of bushes at caps or way in the back of the map. You could work through there and deal with people in detail as you work through. A lot of those are gone. Kharkov, Stalingrad, all of those maps are gone. Those were great for heavies. Heavies loved those. What is the result of that? The maps that are left are a little bit more open. They have, the ones that weren't necessarily open have had killing fields built into them. Fjords, I'm looking at you, and several others. So heavy tanks are campier. They're scared, all right? Number 2, the TDs with the massive alpha guns, especially at tier 8, 9, and 10, who are able to erase 2/3 to a half to sometimes one-shotting tanks 2 tiers below with one hit. Added to the camping maps I just talked about, have induced people to hide and camp. So the maps, the part of the maps I missed are the campy maps, where you take fjords and you put an assassin's line, where you turn Erlenberg into a massive, ridiculous camping fest with bushes and hiding places at the cap. Right at the cap. That induces campiness. The re-emergence of 3 artillery, 2 to 3 artillery in nearly every game. I say nearly every game. I didn't say every game. But most games you're going to find 2 to 3 artillery. Punishing anyone who gets spotted, making people camp. TDs with a bunch of places to hide. Maps set up for hiding. Maps removed that were brawling maps that were easy to move forward in. Artillery in every game raining stun and dead crew members and modules on you at every turn because they're more accurate and they reload relatively fast. Those 3 things plus one more, and that is a significant number of the experienced and good players leaving the game. Now, we have kept a pretty even population overall, but that means we've got a lot of newer players coming in, plus the failure to the top of extremely bad players who, good on them, have every right to play tier 10 as anyone else does. Your skill shouldn't really matter as to whether you have a right to play, but the effect, the real world effect of that is that those kind of players sit in the back. They simply do. They're incentivized to do it through all the things I talked about, plus they're not very good, so they're incentivized to do that as well. They end up playing TDs. When they play something else, they're in the back in a bush, timid, not moving forward. And we have now this insanely campy hide in a bush meta. I mentioned my mediums that I've been playing. Now, you might say, oh, Guido, quit crying about your mediums, get good. Okay, got it. Yep, you're right, absolutely, and I'm trying to. But playing an aggressive medium that's not well armored, like, say, one of the Russian hover mediums with a good turret, is absolutely miserable right now. I mean, it is miserable. It feels like bashing your head into a concrete wall over and over and telling yourself you're having fun. I mean, occasionally you can get that breakout game where you can find a way to get in amongst them, use some of the mobility of the medium, but most of the time you're trying to figure out how to outtrade either a hidden TD back on an assassin line or face smashing with a heavy tank on one of the alleyway maps with very little realistic capability to get around. Not to mention that with a fairly lightly armored tank like this one, you're getting rained on by artillery who is focus firing light stuff because the Maus they can't do anything to. The supposed tank they're supposed to counter, the heavily armored dug in tank, the spearhead, they can't really hurt, so they're busy blasting you. Well, That's my wine. I should actually do that. The wine of the week. Maybe that's the inaugural wow wow of the week. That's even better. The wow wow of the week. The WWW. Today's WWW is Guido keeps getting his butt kicked in his tier 9 medium. So change the game. I am really curious what everybody thinks about that. If you got this far in the video, and I hope you did, put it in the comments below. What do you think about the current meta? Is it campy? Are the reasons I stated the reason? Is it another reason? Does it not exist? Is it all in my head because I'm bad at the prototypo? Is it prototypo? Anyway, the standard B. I'm willing to admit, maybe I just am bad. It's quite possible. Maybe everything's roses and happy and there's no campy meta and everyone is really good at the game and you're just bad. That's possible. All right, let's move on. All right, folks. Well, that is it for me. Time to wrap this up. Do a little editing, get it out to you so you can have a coffee with me. I'm near the bottom. Man, in so many things, I'm near the bottom. That seemed like a life problem, actually, right there. I don't know. I'm going to go contemplate being at the bottom while I edit this thing. What did we talk about? Quite a few things, actually. I yammered on about missions and specials. We talked about the new map changes. Man, I hope they get some of those right. I know I scoffed them a little bit on that, but I do wish them luck in making some of those maps better. Do we have any evidence of that ever happening in the past? I'm trying to think of a map they made better. Somebody put it down at the bottom. Tell me a map they've made better. Other news, had a couple interesting things. We talked about the EULA controversy. I don't know. That one, we'll see. And the new meta as Guido sees it. So leave your comments down below. Hey, thanks for tuning in. I do appreciate supporting the channel, and we will see you.